I got nuclear revenge after DNA test and revealed wife cheated at the wedding. So my wife Amina, female 34, and I, male 35, met at a friend's party. One of my friends was celebrating their 30th birthday during summer holidays. At that time, I was going under a lot of stress because my mother was sick and things were not looking good with her condition. So at my friend Mike's, male 35 party was going or was supposed to be a good distraction for me. A few months passed, the love relationship was formed, and one thing I remember is that it was her birthday, so I had made a surprise dinner for her. Well, she had moved in with me the day she was a free girl. Her and my mother got along very well. Mother would say that she reminded her of Stacy, my sister. So she moved in with me because her abusive criminal was the one who owned the apartment she was living in. That time she had a class in college, so she was not home, which gave me enough time to prepare for her surprise birthday dinner. It was going to be just the three of us, which was my mother, her and I. Mother would always ask why I was not in a relationship with Amina because she loved her for me. I then decided that on that day I was going to confess my feelings for her. So when she came back later, we had a very nice intimate dinner and Mother excused herself, which gave me a chance to tell her how I felt. My palms were sweating. I kept rubbing them, praying that she would not reject my proposal. So I managed to put on my big boy shoes and brave face. Then I told her how I felt. She went mute for a moment. Mind you, that time my knees were shaking. My mind was regretting my actions while my heart was relieved that I had taken out one thing that was weighing on me for the whole year. So when she came back to her senses, she told me that she was not expecting my confession, so I took her by surprise. I already knew that, but I needed just one answer. And that answer was if she was agreeing to be my girlfriend or not. One thing about me that people do not know is that I am a very impatient man when I have to, and what Amina was doing was adding to my impatience. So I decided to give her time to think things through, even though my heart needed an immediate answer, but I couldn't rush her, you know. The following day, when I was preparing for work, she came to me and told me that she was accepting my proposal. Mind you, my mind had already thought and accepted that she had rejected me. She also confessed that she felt the same way as I was, and it had been a while since she felt the way she felt. But she couldn't tell me because she thought maybe I was taking her as her sister since she had moved in with me and my mother. From then, our relationship was formed and my heart was at ease. I respected my consciousness because it kept telling me that as much as I loved the girl, I should not put all my nails to it and leave a space for disappointment because we would never know how tomorrow may be and what it may bring. But I didn't listen to it and went ahead with giving all my heart and soul to the relationship only for it to almost ruin me. I had no doubts about confessing my love to her. I was free, you know. I became free and forgot to leave the space for disappointments. You know, when a relationship is still at the beginning phase, some call it a honeymoon phase, it is hard to take any advice or listen to your consciousness because you would be head over heels in the new formed relationship and nothing else mattered, not knowing that I was actually digging my own shallow grave. A year into our relationship, I decided to take things on another level. I mean, I love this lady. She brought the best out of me, and she became my best friend and my pillar. Well, I won't say she was my strength because my mother was there for that. I was ready to build my life with her and to make an honest person out of her. I wanted her to grow my family name, you know, and bear me children that would continue with the empire I had started building. My IT company was going well, everything was running and going smoothly. I was pretty proud of myself and the achievement I had made. I even managed to take my mother out of Chicago and we moved to North Carolina to have a fresh start and live in a peaceful neighborhood. We were a happy family of 3 people. Well, I do not know any relatives or extended family because my mother never mentions them when she talks or even when I ask. She would always dismiss the topic and move on to another one. We tried getting it out of her, but she was not giving in, so we also gave up because it was clear that she wanted nothing to do with them. We had to respect her decisions. Surely something big had happened between her and her family, so maybe if we pushed hard, she would have ended up getting angry, and that is not what I wanted, to see my mother angry or sad. I always want to see her happy, peaceful, and smiling. Her happiness was my priority, so I would always make sure to avoid doing or saying something that would ruin her happy and peaceful moments. Anyway, I proposed to Amina, and obviously she said yes. We had decided to start planning for our wedding in 9 months because she was busy at school, traveling and visiting historical sites. I respected her decision even though I wanted to marry her the same day I had proposed to her. I mean, she didn't have any family members. She once told me that her extended family had disowned her after her grandmother had passed on and she didn't know her parents. She never heard anything about them. Amina and I got married after 9 months as per her request. I wanted to marry a month after I had proposed to her, but she wanted to first look for her father's family members so they would be present in the wedding. I didn't understand why she was so interested in finding her father's family members because if they had wanted to be present in her life, they would have. and it wouldn't be hard for them to attend the wedding. But what woman wants she should get to keep her happy? I helped her look for her father's family, and to my surprise, they were not far from our hometown. They just didn't want to be present in her life because even her father was alive and healthy. I was not surprised when the family she had spent the whole 6 months looking for did not come to the wedding. The wedding continued, though, and we had the best moment of our lives. I was happy that I had gotten a chance to spend my life with the woman my heart had chosen. I wished my father was present to witness my happy ending, not knowing that my happy ending would actually end sooner than I had expected, and my heart had chosen the worst breaker of it. Sometimes I don't understand why our hearts choose the wrong people to guide them, because I had given my heart to Amina, and she used it and stomped on it like a useless piece of paper. We got married when she was 25 and I was 27. I knew that that was the perfect age to get married to the love of your life. I mean, with Anna, my ex-wife, I was still young and I was still trying to find my feet after I was fresh out of college. So it was understandable that would do something like what she did. A couple of years into our marriage, I had been trying to get Amina pregnant. We were not using any protection because as much as she was once a body seller in her lifetime before she became a waitress, she made sure to protect herself. Her words, not mine. And we had gone to the health department to check if we were both okay, and everything came back negative. That was when we started going raw. So I kept trying to make her fall pregnant, but nothing was happening, which made me suspicious because if everything was fine with her, she would have gotten pregnant the time we tried for a baby. My mind kept telling me that she was hiding something. I didn't know what, but whatever it was sinister. But I trusted that she would never make me a fool, at least not like that. When I asked her why she was not falling pregnant because it had been months since we had started trying, she would always avoid the question and change the topic. The matter got worse when I had suggested that we went to the doctor to check efficiently if she was really fine, but she just busted and wanted to bite my head off. I then knew that something was smelling fish in her actions, but I couldn't tell her that. So I backed off as much as I wanted a child to grow my family name and my legacy, but it was her body after all, and I had to respect her and her decisions. That time we were still living at home with my family. We decided to take her late sister's child and her grandmother to live with us because they wouldn't be able to take care of themselves or even live alone. Well, more like I came up with that idea. She was a bit skeptical at first, but she eventually agreed after she had thought about her family's well-being, and I needed my wife next to me at all times. But later found them their own place to stay along with someone who would be helping them. Time passed, I lacked in giving my wife every time and attention she needed because I was always busy, but when I got time, I would spend it with my wife. She understood that I was a busy guy, and that was what I loved the most about her. As much as she stayed home all day, she knew how to keep herself busy. She would do workouts in the morning and yoga afterwards before she starts her day. We would never have serious arguments nor fight, but we would argue about small things like decision-making. I mean, I was the man of the house. So one day she came home and told me that one of her friends was getting married, so she was asked to be the wedding planner. I didn't understand why that friend wouldn't do her own wedding planning or hire a professional planner. But I didn't tell her that because I wanted to avoid arguments. So during that planning of the wedding, she was going out a lot. Apparently, she had got friends at the college, so they were also helping her in planning. The only thing that was in her head was her friend's wedding to a point that she had less time in the house. It was her and her newly found friends that I didn't even know about or know their names. My conscience kept telling me that something was smelling fishy and I had to pay attention to everything. My IT mind took control and I started bugging her phone because she was also acting strange. When I talked to my mother about it, she told me that it may be the planning pressure and nerve because a month had already passed of Amina planning the wedding, and she wanted everything to be perfect for her friend's big day. I didn't understand why she, her friend, didn't want us to hire a planner because it's every woman's dream to get a planner for their wedding. Or am I wrong? She was too obsessed with the wedding planning, or maybe that was what I thought. So I was busy tracking her phone's coordinates. I found out that she was spending a lot of time in one hotel in South Carolina. I got confused on what she was doing in South Carolina because there were boutiques and everything she needed here in North Carolina. That raised an eyebrow because she was no longer traveling to those historical sites that she was visiting to study. So one day she came back from the same hotel because that was what my computer was telling me. I asked where she was coming from. She told me that she was looking for a wedding dress, so she went to South Carolina because she didn't get the dress she liked around here. I didn't understand and believe her explanation because there was no dress that was being sold in a hotel in South Carolina. My suspicions grew more. My consciousness was telling me that she was cheating and I had to find out who she was cheating with instead of planning for her friend's wedding. So one night I came back from work later than usual, so I couldn't join her and my mother for dinner. Yes, we lived with my mother. When I got to our bedroom, she was wearing very sexy lingerie. I was tempted in an instant. As much as I was tired, I couldn't resist her beautiful melanin body. One thing about Amina, she was really gifted when it came to the body. She had the most perfect body, and I loved every part of it. So we did the things that engaged people do, and it was really amazing as always. But that night she went extra, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And a whole 4 months passed of me waiting for my wife to at least take a break from the planning of her friend's wedding. My wife started coming back to being the Amina I fell in love with. We would spend most of our free time together going through our own wedding videos and pictures while mesmerizing about how beautiful everything was. We were in love again? Well, that was what I had thought, but nope, the girl had an agenda. Time passed and she went back to square one and came up with another lie because her friend was already married 4 months ago. This time she didn't even tell me that she was planning something, but she would say that she was going out with the girls, but when I tried calling her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. That raised the suspicions that I had already had. It really made me angry that my wife would actually betray me like that. I mean, I trusted her. Yes, I was no longer giving her enough time and attention because of work, but that didn't mean she should get attention on another man's arms. Was I paranoid? The way my wife had changed, it made me doubt my decisions of making her my wife and moving from the village to the city when we got married. I mean, it had been my dream to move to the north, but I had never thought moving to this side of South Carolina would actually change my wife. I had thought she was humble and quiet, but I had thought wrong. Another thing that I had noticed but never put my mind to was when I got home. She was no longer meeting me from my car to welcome me back home. Like she would wait for me at the door and give me a kiss. She would prepare me a nice bath after work, then it would be followed by a mouth-watering dinner. I fell in love with her every day. I appreciated the way she was treating me and giving me respect as her man. But all that changed over time. In fact, it changed to a point that she would leave me a note on a fridge or on top of the kitchen counter, notifying that she was going out with the girls, and I shouldn't wait up. I asked myself if phones were no longer working for her to write me a message on a piece of paper. I trusted her, I had thought that since she was coming from a good family with good life lessons, she would follow and take what she was taught with her. When we started getting along, she was so humble, so precious and innocent. She made me vow to myself to never hurt her fragile and innocent heart. She made me put my arrogant self aside and think like a real man. Yes, I have been in relationships with different women, but none of them were a match to what Amina was offering and how she was treating me. Some of the women I had dated were just in a relationship with me for money. They loved what I was offering, not me as I was. And there was this other one that I had dated. She had a wife material qualities, just like Amina. I loved her, but I was still chasing dollars and didn't have much time with her, so she stayed until she got tired and decided to leave. I found out 2 months later that she was engaged with someone else. But when I found Amina, I saw that my previous girlfriend had nothing compared to her. Amina was the full package of wife material. She brought the best out of me. She made me value time and give her attention she needed without even trying. One thing I appreciated and still appreciate about my ex-girlfriend was that she was never afraid to raise her concerns and had warned me so many times about my obsession with work. She told me that she was getting tired of having to wait for me every time when I had to chase the papers. She even told me her fears, expectations, and the type of man she wanted in her life. She was never afraid to tell you the truth as it was, just like Amina, but Amina never raised her concerns. She would just keep quiet and pretend like everything was fine when they were not. She preferred bottling things up in her chest and not sharing them with me as her partner. I know I was not a perfect husband, but I needed her to open up. I noticed that I was losing my wife and our marriage was slowly going from tolerance to nothing. She came back looking drunk, greeted me, and went to our bedroom suite. She didn't even look me in the eyes or offer me a kiss. It was like she was guilty of something. So I decided to check her phone, and to my surprise, she had changed her passcodes, which raised eyebrows to me because she had never changed her passcodes. I mean, she was my wife, we trusted each other, meaning there should be no secrets between us. She knew my passcodes, even my bank pins. That was how much I trusted her. So I took it upon myself to find a way to throw away her phone because it showed that she was definitely hiding something, and I was yet to find out. I prayed that it wouldn't be something that would jeopardize our relationship and break our marriage. I actually prayed that my intuitions were wrong and my wife was not doing sinister things that would jeopardize what we had. We would engage in intimacy maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I am complaining at least I was getting something rather than nothing, A couple of months later, she started showing signs of pregnancy. She was glowing, gaining weight, exhaustion, and vomiting. I had hoped that she was pregnant because I had been begging her to give me a child, but she would ignore me or change the topic. When I saw that her sickness was constantly continuing, I decided to take her to the doctor, which was when we found out that she was indeed pregnant. I don't want to lie, I was extremely happy. I was ecstatic. It was like a dream come true. 9 months later, the child was born. That was the very best day of my life. She had given birth to a very cute baby boy. My love for her grew, I had thought that she had upped my pride as a man. I loved the child. I even vowed to myself that my child would never suffer while I am still around and kicking. Our relationship was back again, and we were very much happy. Baby Oliver, the child, was my greatest joy and my pride. When a person says they love the child to a point that you would even take a bullet for him. 1, 2, and 3 years passed. I had been trying to have at least some connection with this child. Like he wasn't like those kids that get happy when they see their daddy. He behaved like an adopted child. It somehow worried me and broke my heart to see that my son was not even trying to have a relationship with me whilst young. But I continued to love him nonetheless, despite everything that was happening. I still had love for the child and hoped that he would eventually accept and know that I was his daddy. The worst part is that we even went to the doctor to check what was going on with the child because it was really unusual. One day my mother asked to speak to me privately, so I obliged and landed her my ears. She then asked why I was this blind. At first I didn't understand her question up until she told me that the child doesn't even look like me or anyone in my family. Another thing, he was not even resembling his mother. He may have his mother's few features, but confirms that he was her child. But he was just nothing like her. At first, what my mother told, it was really hard to believe, and having to come to terms that the child wasn't mine. I became ignorant to a point that I even told my mother to stop saying things that do not need her. I was rude to my mother and even took her back to her old house so she can live at home. I didn't know until it was too late. One day, as I was going to a certain restaurant, I saw her with a man in some restaurant. They were cozy, and even a small child would see that those people were in a relationship. Mind you, when I looked at the man, he looked exactly like baby Oliver. I won't say I was heartbroken, I was shuddered. When she came back from where she was with her baby daddy, I confronted her. I simply asked her whose child I was taking care of because it wasn't mine. She first threw tantrums, telling me that I didn't trust her and all that. Then I told her that I saw her in a certain restaurant. She tried denying, but I gave her my phone so she can see the picture that I took as evidence. I then told her that the following morning we were going to run some tests, specifically DNA tests. She shouted, called me names, and even tried to break things in the house, but I stopped her. I told her that if she believed that the child was mine, she wouldn't act like a crazy woman and give me what I wanted. The following day we did the test, then waited for the whole week to get the results back. When they came back, my mother's intuitions were right. I was not the father of the child. It was already obvious because the child didn't even look like me, but I still went with everything just to ease my conscience. I looked at my wife with a lot of disgust and disappointment. I was angry at the fact that she had fooled me. She made me a fool and a mockery, and made me take responsibility for a child that was not mine. How cruel can women be? For the whole 3 years of the child's life, I was busy taking care of someone else's child. What angered me the most was the fact that she, Amina, my wife, was still seeing her baby daddy behind my back. She had no shame to even meet up with her AP in public while she was wearing her wedding ring. She didn't care that maybe someone who knew me would see them, but unfortunately, I was the one who caught her red-handed. So I granted her a divorce, and at least I didn't lose anything to her. I couldn't continue fighting for something that was not going anywhere. The ship had sunk, so it was time to move on and restart my life. Since then, I vowed to never fall in love again. The person I had thought had the qualities of a good woman showed me that no woman is perfect. They are all evil and manipulative. She made me believe that she loved me, but she chose to cheat and even fall pregnant for that guy while she knew that I had been begging her to give me a child. I found out that she actually started cheating during the planning of her friend's wedding. Worst part was that the guy was the groom's friend, and it was revealed that she had disappeared with the same guy at the wedding and came back 5 hours later. I didn't even know what to say nor do. The way I was furious, I wanted to turn her life upside down just like she did to me. My only fault was to make her an honorable person and make her my wife. I gave her the rare kind of love that most ladies only dream and fantasize on. I knew that I had to think of the child whenever I did something to Amina. So I tempered with her car tires, then told her to get out of my house. She tried being remorseful and begged me to forgive her, but I couldn't. Another thing, I disconnected everything that connects me with her, including her bank cards, and even took her out of the medical scheme. Later that day, I heard the news about a car that lost control and almost got through the bridge. After that, I didn't care about Amina. Whether she survived or not, I didn't care. But I heard that she spent 3 months in the ICU. I guess beauty and personality can be deceiving because what I would always look at when I was at work or came back from work was the total opposite person of the Amina that I had fallen in love with. She was a whole different person, the one I fell in love with, always natural and always not afraid to embrace it. I found solace in therapy, seeking guidance and understanding from a professional who could help me navigate the murky waters of betrayal. Through tear-filled sessions, I slowly began to unravel the tangled mess of emotions that had consumed me. I learned to confront my anger and sadness head-on, allowing myself to feel the pain instead of repressing it. As the months passed, I started to see glimpses of healing. The sharp edges of my pain began to soften, replaced by a sense of acceptance and understanding. I realized that my wife's infidelity was not a reflection of my worth, but rather a reflection of her own struggles and insecurities. I made the decision to forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger and resentment would only poison my own heart, preventing me from moving forward and finding peace. Moving on was a slow and arduous process. I had to rediscover who I was outside of my marriage, reconnecting with old hobbies and passions that had long been buried beneath the weight of my pain. I leaned on friends and family for support, finding comfort in their unwavering love and understanding. But through it all, I never lost sight of the most important lesson I had learned, that healing is a process, not a destination. It takes time and patience, self-reflection, and self-compassion. And while the scars of my past may always remain, they serve as a reminder of the strength and resilience that lies within me. As I sit here now reflecting on the journey I have traveled, I am filled with a sense of peace and gratitude. I am grateful for the pain that forced me to confront my deepest fears and insecurities. I am grateful for the love and support that buoyed me in my darkest moments. And above all, I am grateful for the opportunity to start anew, to rebuild my life on a foundation of self-love and acceptance. So here I stand, a survivor of betrayal and heartbreak, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. And as I look towards the future with hopeful eyes, I am reminded that the best is yet to come. Please tell me how I can move on from this. How do I trust another woman in my life? I need your advice.